Hello, and welcome to this manufacturing management webinar entitled A Recipe for Success, Balancing Energy Costs in F&B Manufacturing. My name is Paul Fanning. I'm editor of Manufacturing Management, and I'm joined today by Craig Stasik, Industry Sector Manager at RS. So today we're here to discuss the rising cost of energy and the impact it has on efficiency in the food and beverage or F&B industry. In this webinar, we will discuss the landscape of F&B, where every ingredient, process and decision impacts the bottom line, and managing energy costs has become a critical ingredient for success. We will also be discussing the role unplanned downtime plays in leading to inefficiencies and increased energy consumption. The four themes we will be discussing in the webinar are an overview of the challenges associated with energy management in the F&B sector, followed by how unplanned downtime may increase costs. Craig will then run us through a real-time example of a customer case study, and then discuss the impact of technology and innovation on energy savings. We hope to provide you with a well-rounded view of today's topic of energy management in F&B. So without further ado, let us start with the first theme of the webinar, navigating energy management challenges. F&B manufacturing is the largest sector in the UK, bigger than automotive and aerospace industries combined, and as such, it plays a vital role in our daily lives. Its energy needs are substantial. From the production floor to distribution, energy management is a central concern affecting both the industry and in turn its consumers. One of the challenges we'll be addressing is the impact of rising costs and where a manufacturer can look to make savings. Understanding how small changes can influence energy management in the F&B sector is paramount for sustainable operations. So Craig, what could an F&B manufacturer do to identify energy inefficiencies, and what are the potential cost savings associated with that?
There's many options, I suppose. I'll go with something that's quite topical and heavily used within the F&B industry, and that's compressed air. It's fundamental within any of the facilities that certainly I visit within our customer base, and you can hear it almost as you walk around every site. So I guess having that being an effective system is going to ensure that not only you've got efficiency, but obviously you can look to drive savings through that as well. And off the back of that, you can actually make sure you've got limited downtime on the basis of that also. Although air leak surveys are a relatively simple exercise to carry out, that's only half the task. Understanding what the leak is and where it is one thing, but actually carrying out the repair work is the pivotal point with that, to make sure that you generate the savings that you're looking towards. With that as well, resource is a challenge. We recognise that whenever we're talking to customers. Even yesterday, one of the main challenges they're facing is resource within engineering teams. So making sure that you've got the ability to actually carry out the repair afterwards is vital with this. As an example, we do see some huge savings generated from this, and we've got an example of some work that we've done with one of our large some multi-sited UK-wide customers. And actually we've identified that they carry out the fixes. There's a potential £1.4 million worth of loss within their air systems, and that's huge for any organisation, especially within the F&B sector where margins are so tight. Not only that, as I said earlier, you can focus on the total system and the efficiency of that. So, are your compressors running at the most effective levels? Are they running when they don't need to, perhaps? So there's lots of things to consider away from just that, the loss of air stroke energy.
Okay, but aside from air leak surveys, are there any other types of monitoring systems that you could recommend for F&B manufacturers, and why?
Yeah, this is a huge topical point right now, and it follows a theme actually that we had a discussion point in our sort of RS Food for Thought event last week in Corby, and we discussed energy management. But actually, sites and facilities, they understand the consumption as a whole, but they don't necessarily know what assets are drawing, what consumption. So I guess the first steps are to do that, because without understanding and utilising meters at asset level, you have no data in terms of pointing you to what you need to fix. Once you have that data asset level, you can start to make some decisions then, which will hopefully help reduce the consumption of energy. You can compare assets, understand what's causing spikes, perhaps see a true measure of your sort of where you need to focus your time and efforts. And, as I said earlier, the time resource element is a challenge. And so having that data set to allow you to, focus in the right areas is a huge starting point. And we've got, many different products and solutions which can support you in this area. If people are worried about this being a huge, outlay initially, being a large scale, we said the word digital transformation, it's, rest assured we can offer quite a modular and simplistic approach, starting almost one asset at a time, in specific areas of your plant perhaps, rather than a, huge wide scale thing. So yeah, we can definitely help with that sort of thing.
Okay. So to move on to our second discussion topic, unplanned downtime. In the realm of F&B manufacturing, downtime is more than just a pause in operations. It's a significant factor affecting overall efficiency. As we explore this theme, consider the ripple effect of downtime on your facility's energy consumption. Every moment of interruption can have far-reaching consequences, from production halts to the subsequent energy spikes during restarts. These nuances impact not only operational costs, but also the sustainability goals of an organization. You can find these stats in RS's Food and Beverage Industry Review. So Craig, can you shine some light on the key areas within a facility where efficiency improvements can have the most substantial impact on reducing downtime and subsequently energy costs?
Yeah. So lubrication, I suppose, is a real sort of challenge maybe, and something to focus on, because you can lose lots of energy through inefficient lubrication. And I think that I heard a supplier talk around 20% of energy loss can be gained back through having that sort of resolved. So having a proactive lubrication strategy will allow for more efficient assets with less downtime as well. As you've got a better maintained asset at that point also. So as a byproduct of this, you're going to gain back time, which we've just established is a big factor, and cost with less frequent replacements of bearings, for example. Another thing to consider: the motors within a site and a facility. 50% of global energy is used by motors, which is it's a huge stat in itself. But if you're running old technology, IE3 for example, you switch to a more efficient motor, being an IE5, you can potentially look to save up to 40% in energy consumption. Again, this feeds back to understanding your asset level consumption to allow you to focus in the right areas, as we've just discussed. And it would equally support reduced downtime, having more efficient and reliable motors in play. There is another point as well, LED lighting. It's not downtime related, but again, it's a real high energy use product. So switching out to LED can make some huge ROI, quite simple ROIs actually, if you look at that in a bit more detail. So yeah, there's three elements there to think about.
Okay. And are there technological solutions or predictive maintenance approaches that have proven effective in preventing unplanned downtime?
So yeah, no matter what stage you're at, there's going to be varying levels of application. You might be at square one and need to start really simple, just by extracting data from your assets to understand where the focus needs to be. Equally, you might already have some data pointing you towards some areas of focus. You've got sensor technology to be in a predictive state, having live feed of data and not reliant on having to take physical readings. That sort of technology is going to allow sites to be more proactive in their approach. Again, helping prevent unplanned downtime there.
Okay, thank you. I should just point out at this point, if people want to ask questions that we can ask at the end, to type them into the box on the right-hand side of your screen. But now we should move on to our third discussion area. Craig.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk through a customer case study here, whereby I'll talk you through the problem, what the solution looked like, and what the outcome is for that particular customer. So businesses have now sustainability targets as a pretty common standard thing within the corporate world. We talk about this example specifically. They had a net zero target to aim towards, and they wanted to reduce their emissions. Equally, you combine that with the fact they've got soaring energy costs. So that meant that they were looking at ways to make meaningful reduction in their consumption. The challenge they had, though, there was little insight as to how and where energy was being used, and so any projects became difficult to implement on that basis. So our RS Industria team allowed them to understand how and where energy was being used. This particular customer did have sub-meters, so they understood sort of where perhaps energy was being used, but these sub-meters required a manual read, and that was only ever done weekly for them. So although they have some data, it wasn't the most granular level to enable, I guess, some more insight. So what we did as part of the solution, we connected these sub-meters and installed some further sub-meters in key areas, which then all gave a sort of real-time feed of consumption, allowing real understanding of what was being consumed and where, and importantly, when, I suppose, because it's not that it's gone from a static read once a week to a constant live feed of all that data at sub-meter level. So the outcome from that was actually this particular customer managed to reduce their energy consumption by 14%. Not only that, I mean, it's an impressive number, but that was done within 4 weeks of implementing this solution. So their energy consumption now broken down by asset, process, location, and time gave high level of detail, which revealed high areas of waste for them, which could be immediately rectified. For example, part of this was they actually left equipment on standby at weekends, which wasn't in use. And the reason for that was because they had the maintenance windows over the weekend. So what they looked to do was actually move their maintenance windows to within the week and run them on a night shift. So the consumption of heat and lighting at weekends were heavily reduced, and the savings massively outweighed the cost of the additional labour to move that to night shifts. So with that energy usage at line level, they've obviously cascaded that throughout their business. They've actually created a bit of an energy saving culture now within that particular customer amongst their employees, which that in itself has led to further changes to operating procedures, which is then maximising these energy savings. So that's been a real great adoption of some of the technology, but equally the culture within that business has changed to support the problem statements right at the beginning.
Okay. And now perhaps if we could move on to our fourth discussion area, the impact of technology and innovation on energy savings. Smart utilization of technology can elevate energy resilience in the F&B sector. Understanding how the adoption of technology can serve as a catalyst for reducing expenditure while simultaneously enhancing overall efficiency will help companies tackle challenges. F&B businesses need to navigate the practical applications of innovation, dispelling any notion that it incurs huge costs. Instead, we aim to show how the role of innovation not only mitigates unexpected costs, but also fortifies energy resilience. So, Craig, how can organizations strategically plan and prioritize innovation in their energy management strategies without disrupting ongoing operations?
So, according to the RS Food and Beverage Industry Report, which we commissioned last year, the findings were quite surprising, actually. They showed that 60 hours of unplanned downtime costs an F&B business staggering 300k, which is a huge number, phenomenal number. And we know from the report findings that the maintenance engineers responsible for making sure these assets run smoothly with minimum downtime are being put under more and more pressure to work with aging machinery, yet still achieve the same targets. So with that in mind, there's innovations is important, but we touched on it earlier, but the basics really need to be in place before you can start to explore further innovation. We talked there earlier about extracting asset level data and the importance of that, having an effective maintenance schedule, and the ability to upgrade your parts, motors we referenced earlier, but you've got pumps as well to consider, and obviously we touched on lighting as well. Once these sort of basic principles are in place, you've got that data, you understand what's going where and when. You can then sort of have time back almost to be able to be more efficient with other areas, and that'll allow businesses to focus on innovation as the next stage as part of their operations.
Okay. And how can organizations measure the return on investment following the integration of innovation and or technology into their energy management practice?
So this is about being in that position of strength, I suppose. And again, I'm not going to apologise for banging on about it, because it is quite a pivotal point. Once you have that level of data, you've got a firm understanding of everything that's going on within your world, as it were, in terms of consumption. So that allows you to really understand asset level consumption, and any tweaks or changes that you make at that point, you'll see in the data. So to measure then that ROI becomes a very, very simple thing to do. So yeah, having that scrutiny, ability to scrutinize, I suppose, having got the data from your assets is a real key element there.
Okay. And now we'll move on to some questions from our audience. First of all, how do you recommend organizations assess and prioritize their energy management challenges in the dynamic environment of F&B?
In conversation with many customers, the major sort of factor when we start to look at this is where to start, and equally who's going to start it. Time's precious. We've talked through that earlier today already, and sadly we can't create more of that. But in a fast-paced environment like food and bev, take your time out to explore where the challenges are, let alone considering if you need to take action, and if it will give any ROI. So more and more customers are realizing that outsourcing this sort of project is or can be a really effective way. Technical expertise you might not have, and resource being light and being a challenge in general. So why not invest in your future and allow a recognized partner to help you understand what is possible? Experts who have a broad understanding of many of the challenges from their other customers can equally be a faster route to a solution here. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that one, I think.
Okay. And second one here, in your experience, what are some commonly overlooked costs associated with downtime in manufacturing, and how can companies address them proactively?
Okay, so overlooked costs, I suppose, in a food and beverage capacity, reputational damage is going to be huge. If you have product recalls, equipment failure, contamination, even, all of these things are going to lead to lost sales, and more so, brand damage, brand confidence from consumer level. So that will be, a real sort of overlooked part to this. Equally, shipping costs. If you think about, you have downtime, you have a breakdown, you're reactive in that situation. You've got to go and source a widget from whoever. Typically, shipping costs are massively overlooked here, because you need that part there and then. You'll pay whatever it needs to be to have that product land with you in the shortest window possible. So again, having the ability to have a trusted partner in that sense that understands your critical assets, the parts that are required and such, will be able to allow you to avoid some of that. But ultimately, both of these things hinge back to having a strong preventative maintenance strategy in place and real robust quality systems.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's all the questions we have time for. But first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to Craig Stasik from RS for helping to bring this discussion to life today and for sharing his expertise. Today's webinar has helped gain valuable perspectives on the industry by exploring the impact of rising costs and delving into the significance of tools like air leak surveys and meters. These insights uncover the need for a holistic approach to energy management, considering both external factors and internal operational efficiency. Craig has given us great insight and understanding of the challenges in energy management and downtime challenges in the F&B sector that came out of the food and beverage industry report launched by RS. If you would like to download a free copy of the F&B report, please scan the QR code on the screen now. And with that, I'd just like to hand over to Craig for his message.
Sure, thanks, Paul. So I guess, having heard what we've talked through today, I'd just like to sort of stress that we have expert advisors available to talk through any of the challenges that you might have, and equally then how we can help organisations like yours. We've proven experience supporting the F&B industry. We've got numerous case studies with in areas such as reducing downtime, enhancing efficiencies. We offer a range of products and services to help you reach your business goals. So just reach out if you'd like a conversation. Let us know what your problems are, and we can absolutely try and shape something there for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.